What up, football fans all over the world? It's your boy, Mac the Giants fan, here with my guy, the super dope co-host, Adam Costas. Y'all know what time it is. It's time for that real deal NFC East round up. Punch that intro. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Real Deal NFC East Roundup. I am Mac the Giants fan, here with my guy, the super dope co-host, Adam Costas. Man, how you feeling today, Adam?
Feeling good, but feeling bad because the season to me is over, and it ended in an evaporation in 5 minutes. 1 minute we're high, and in 5 minutes we're low, and it's hard to get over that. It's gonna, I got a couple of thoughts about it, but we'll get into that.
What's going on, Ram, man? Good to see you, man. It's been a while. Been a long time no see, man. Glad to see you popping in, man, today. But yeah, remember we were texting on me, you and Zion on our group thread checks, and I was sitting there saying after Tyrone Tracy's touchdown? Yeah, after Tyrone Tracy's touchdown, and I said, remember I texted you? I said, damn, I wanted the shutout at that point. Hope we can hang on and get the shutout. Wow, how drastically things changed right after that very moment.
We will get into all of it. All of it. The meltdown. I'm going to label that the meltdown at Mile High. Wait for that segment. But we have other games to recap. Let's get to it first.
Well, let's go to Philly first, I guess, man. Let's Who the hell the Eagles? I can't even remember who the hell the Eagles. Oh, the Vikings, Minnesota, yeah. That's really the Eagles in Minnesota there, man.
I'm going to assume the opponent.
This game, once again, the Eagles, I mean, look, they win, and you can't complain about winning. It's just but it's never pretty. It's still looking for that win where they look like the defending world champs, man.
Well,
and it's like but they get the job done. I mean, it still affected Devontae Smith was I feel like was the offensive star today. Him and Jalen Hurts, man, put on a clinic, man. Those guys were really were connected, man. I don't know what your thoughts on this game against the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday, Adam.
I think my thoughts are they look like the Eagles of the defending champs. They got out to a big lead. They scored points when they needed to. They had a little bit more assertiveness to themselves. The players kind of bought in. Nakobe Dean. Nakobe Dean's looking good. It's funny because I was talking to somebody. I think it was Zion. I said they need to take Jahad Campbell off the middle, put Nakobe Dean back in, and make Jahad Ward a rover. Well, guess what? That's exactly what they're doing. So I think what you're seeing is a team that knows how to win football games. They're not fazed by anything. They took 10 days off, and bing, bang, boom, Jalen Hurts has his best game as a passer. And I understand what you're talking about in terms of do they look good? I think because the standard has been so high that anything less than that standard is not good. And when you look at it, their record is 5-2. They've beaten some pretty good teams along the way. It's not like they haven't beaten good teams. And this is just the way it's going to be for them the rest of the year because they are the defending Super Bowl champions. People are always going to give you their best shot no matter what. And they have a defense that is got some talent and is a bend but don't break defense. Their offense is absolutely explosive. You saw it against Minnesota. They can hang with anybody. I just feel, and by the way, their bye week is coming up. So let's look at this. Let's look at the Eagles. They have a 10-day layoff, come back, beat up on Minnesota, right? Have another game with the Giants coming up, and then you have another bye to get all these people right. And to me, if they can get through this stretch and win, let's say they win this game on Sunday, they're now at 6-2. You're going to be sitting on top of your perch, going in, getting a lot of your players back. You're getting Brandon Graham back. You might be able to activate Nolan Smith. You've got a couple cornerbacks coming back. So you'll be able, and then you can dissect the offense. And the Eagles, to me, are the team that makes the best adjustments. Last year, remember, they went into the game against Tampa Bay basically shittier than what they looked like last year. Last year, at this point in time, they look like ass, right? We're like, what is happening? The Eagles are vulnerable, blah, 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 right? They're like 2-2. And then they, lost to Tampa Bay. Wheels are falling off the bus. They did adjustments, and then they rattled off win after win after win. I think the Eagles are learning a new coordinator, getting back some guys healthy on defense, and I think that after the bye week is when you're going to start to see it all come together for them. And if they can stay afloat in this first half of the year, which they are at 5-2, and if they beat the Giants on Sunday, go to 6-2, right? That really elevates you to you're still at the top of the conference with one game behind Detroit. You're probably number 2, I think, because everybody else has about 3 losses. So that's got to be their mindset. And to me, again, 5 wins. You're already halfway to 10. With the rest of the schedule remaining, there's at least 5 games you and I can point out that they could win. So at worst, they're 10-7, right? And like I said, with everybody gunning for you, this is what you get. And it's not going to be any different down the stretch. People are going to want to measure themselves to the Eagles. Remember, they won. Like we did it with Kansas City. Why is Kansas City falling out of favor? Right? Because all they do is win, and everybody gives them their best shot. Now, this is, I believe, arguably, you're going to see Kansas City in the AFC Championship game. That's how I feel they're starting to move right now. They're starting to get that momentum where they're putting it together. The Eagles are the same way. I feel they keep winning. They're finding what they need to do, and after this bye week, that's coming up after this Giant game. If they pull this out, I think we're going to see I think we're going to see this team ending when it's all said and done with probably 11, 12 wins at the end of the day, and probably at least top 3 seed in the playoffs.
Well, I agree that's where they definitely should be falling, and they probably still will when it's all said and done. Because I also mentioned it. I mean, the other day after the Giants game in Denver, I said good teams figure it out. Good teams, keep fighting. Good teams find ways to win. That's what the Eagles do. I just feel like, I don't know. I mean, maybe because I think you hit the nail on the head when you said expectations. People like even from outside, like myself, we see expectations, expect more from this football team, even though they're still winning the football games. You just kind of
how dominant they were last year.
You just always kind of expect a little more. Like I mean, Saquon Barkley is still yet to get it going on this season. I mean, he's really off to a very, very, very slow start to this season, man. Like honestly, you would not know this guy was the rushing champ, the offensive player of the year a season ago. I mean, he's just really off to a bad start, and he hasn't really been able to get it going at all. But like you said, Jalen Hurts coming off of his not even just his best passing game this season, probably arguably maybe his best passing game of his career, to be quite frank. Honestly, I mean,
that defense is not bad, right?
200-yard receivers. Yeah, Devontae Smith almost nearly 200 yards on the day. A.J. Brown with 121 on 4 catches as well. So, I mean, this team, they're just talented, overly talented, and maybe you're right. I think I do tend to agree that you're probably right on the fact that I just probably have expectations of just seeing next level, just some kind of next level like dominance with this football team.
Think about last year, Mac, right? Last year, they were blowing the doors off of teams. Well, at the second half of the year, the beginning of the year, if you remember, they struggled against the Falcons. They played that weird game against the Saints. They were all over the place. We're saying, what is this team? That is the hangover from 2023 real? And then after the bye week, after that Tampa Bay game where they lost by double digits, they came back and put it together, right? And they then they started trouncing teams toward their march to the playoffs. This year, I think they won 3 in a row to start the season. They had, including the Super Bowl. I think they're because the level of what they did last year, the dominance that they had throughout the playoffs, right? There's not really one game they didn't get caught up in until the Rams game in the playoffs, where they barely scored points and Barkley had to win. Every other game was like a blowout for them. So the fact that they're not blowing teams out like last year, remember, every year is different. We just assumed because they brought most of their team back and they brought most of their defense back and their players and things like that we just assumed that, they're just going to trounce on people. And that is not the case because you're putting in new players in the back end of the defense, right? You're getting acclimated to a new offensive coordinator, the newest offensive coordinator in 3 years. I mean, my God, they had one in 2022. Those 2 guys left. It is now in Arizona and Indianapolis, but I think it's Arizona is the guy that the offensive coordinator. So he went to Arizona. You get the guy Desai, who was absolutely atrocious in 2023, right? Then in 2024, you get Kellen Moore, and you get off to that sluggish start, right? And then all of a sudden, you come out in the second half and basically got that guy a head coaching job because you dominated teams. This year, you have a new offensive coordinator. You're still trying to get acclimated. Your offensive line, while is still good, is banged up. The starters haven't played. I'm not making excuses, but what I'm saying is and not to mention the level of competition is going to try to get to you, especially like teams like the Rams, teams who thought they did dirty last year by the Eagles, who were, making these games a laugher. So we come into this season and expect that same level of dominance, and we realize the entire NFL has raised their level, and the Eagles, who aren't the same team that they were, are still able to, like you say, win these games. That's why, to me, this Eagle team is so dangerous, because we can sit here and say they haven't played their best football yet. And what will happen when they actually do turn that switch on and get it all together? That's when it's going to be really scary. And we could be saying at the end of the year this year, man, we didn't see this coming because we thought they were struggling. And next thing you know, they're 13-3, they're 12-4, and they're second number 2 in the conference.
And I get all what you're saying. I just, like I said, but at this point, we're approaching the halfway point of the season, and I still would like to see things pick up a little bit more for them. That's all. Like I said, curse of being good. You know what I mean? Now it's just a curse of being good. Like, I'm not denying that they're a good football team. Obviously, I can't sit there and say that. But it's just that I, as a football fan, just expected more from this team, and I just haven't really seen it yet.
Mac, are there defense on your fantasy team? Is that's what really happening? Is there an underlying this year?
No, I don't actually don't have any Eagles on my fantasy team. Not this year. I don't have any Eagles on my fantasy team this year.
I look at it like this, right? We always talk about wins. They're 5-2, okay? And like we said, every game has been a story in itself, and they found a way to win games. And in their losses, it's because honestly, the game against the Giants, they looked tired. They came from a brutally physical game against Denver, got 3 days rest, not time to recover, and got a team that was, coming back, needed something to prove at home. And they met Jackson Dart, who they hadn't seen and probably weren't expecting, probably were game planning for Russell Wilson because Russell Wilson was there before, or they expected a bit of a drop-off after 5 turnovers against New Orleans, right? So it's similar to what Mike Tomlin experience with Joe Flacco, right? When you're preparing for a team, even Sean Payton said it this week for the Giants. We hope that you didn't start Russ till after our game because everybody knows that Russ was cooked, and it would have been an easier test to go up against. Now they have some tape against us, and I want to see how the adjustments will be made in this game to see. And if they end up winning this game against the Giants on Sunday, where I'm gonna put them in the hunt for number 1 seed, because again they're gonna be up there at 6 wins, 6-2 with the remaining 9 games left on the schedule, right? And you play the Commanders, you play a couple of these teams that you think you could beat. There's no telling what will happen, and they're going into a bye week. I just think the momentum for them, if they win this game Sunday, if they win, I think it's going to propel them. If they lose, they're going to have to do a lot of inner soul searching because, they're going to get to rattle off wins. But if they win this game Sunday and get to 6-2 and get to the bye and can be able to adjust and get some players back, I think the second half of the year, you're going to see that team that we talked about.
But that's also the difference about this football team is we're going into this game and saying if they win. There was a point before prior to the season started that we weren't talking about if they beat the Giants. We were talking about when they destroy the Giants. You know what I mean? As opposed to now, it's if they can beat the Giants on Sunday, and that's just the kind of what I mean. The kind of part of what I mean about where a game like this coming up this week, for instance, was a game that at one point in time for most people was a complete no-brainer. They're gonna just go and trash the fucking Giants. It's like nobody's without putting any real thought into it. Now, the fact that you even have to say the word if, put the word if they beat the Giants, that's kind of
I can't because it's not as guaranteed as it was, but it doesn't take away from the fact that when you have a team like Nick, we were literally talking about this team last week, and the wheels were falling off the bus. Oh my God, they come out and they beat Minnesota in a pretty well played game by the offense and not a terrible game by the defense. I mean, the defense did score a defensive touchdown, right? You actually, they got 2 turnovers. The defense did what it needed to do for them to win that game, right? So I don't want to just sit here and plaster them like we had to do every year last year. But I also don't want to take away from the fact that they still have a 5-2 record. They're still at the top of the division. They see that this division game is within reach to end the division early, right? Because the only threat that they believe probably is the Cowboys, because Commanders we'll get into them in a minute, and the Giants, who's by their own default is in the basement, right? The Giants should probably be a little bit better than they are, but they aren't, and here they are. So if you look at things in a glass half full thing, I just think they're right where they need to be. We didn't expect them to win every game. Not every team wins, but I expected them to be, after 8 games, 6-2, 7-1, 8-0. They're falling right there. They can fall right into that plethora, and then we're still going to be, again, like I said, we'll be talking about them going into next week. Like, damn, the Eagles will be able to still be a top 3 team, because you don't know what's going to happen with Tampa Bay with the injuries. You don't know what's going to happen with the Lions. They tend to choke sometimes. And then all of a sudden, when the dust settles, what are we doing? We're sitting here and we're looking at this team again, and we're like, how the fuck are they in a fucking championship game? Or how the fuck did they make the playoff run that they did? That's just the Eagles. So for me, as long as they're winning and they're not complete dog shit, they're going to be the Eagles team. They just find a way with this coaching staff.
Ultimately, like you just said, the key is, the fact is, it doesn't really matter. None of this what really matters. The fact is that they still, as long as they continue to win, is all that matters. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter how they do it, honestly. Right. It doesn't matter if they win every fucking game by 1 point.
Exactly.
It just, winning is winning. So
it counts the same in the win column and the loss column, no matter what the score is, right?
So at the end of the day, they still find a way to win, because that's what championship teams, type caliber teams do, and that they are very much still a championship caliber team. Like I said, it's just expectations were set are a little higher for fans.
28 points against that defense, but it's pretty good. Or 21 points against that defense is pretty good in the way. I mean, the score is not an indication of how good their offense was, right? I mean, on that defense, that Brian Flores defense, they threw for a ton of yards on a defense that, returned touchdown. You saw that defense. They had scoring plays. They did what they needed to do, right? So to do that against that defense, you've got to give them confidence, again, coming out of a game where they got beat by double digits. So the fact that they did win, and they were leading at one point by double digits, is this team knows what they're still kind of doing. And they're still winning. And while they accumulate and acclimate these new players in and get, I thought this week against Minnesota was a better week overall for their team. I thought their defense wasn't great, but it got enough pressure on Carson Wentz to do what it needed to do. I thought their offense was fantastic, and I thought Jake Elliott, left some points on the board. He missed a couple field goals in games where he normally would make those field goals, right? In a dome. He missed one. And you thought, oh, here go the Eagles again. But again, they score their big plays and their touchdowns, and away you go. So I just to me, as much as it's not spectacular, at the end of the day, if you keep winning, what do we care? If we see them at the end of the year and they're in the place that I think they're going to be, we're not going to even think about that game against Minnesota or whatever. Remember they only scored 17 points. At that point, that's going to be old news. So
absolutely. Well, the Eagles will be the Eagles, and we'll be continuing to follow that story, and we'll be getting back to the Eagles in a little bit later on in the program. We'll get back to the Eagles a little bit more. We start previewing the matchups for next week, but for this upcoming week. But let's talk about 2 more NFC East teams that collided on Sunday with each other. One going absolutely in the wrong direction, it looks like right now, and another one that is still hard to really get a full gauge on what they really are. Talking about the Dallas Cowboys hosting the Washington Commanders on Sunday and absolutely taking it to the Commanders. And it's not so much surprising that they were able to beat the Commanders, but to beat them in the fashion in which they did. With this game was never, ever even competitive. I don't know how much of this you were able to catch if you caught a glimpse of any of this football game, but this game was never, ever even really truly competitive. And for the Washington Commanders, Jaden Daniels goes down once again to miss however much time we don't really know yet. But what's your thoughts on the Commanders and Dallas?
My thoughts is that, Dallas is what they are, Jekyll and Hyde team. Their offense can be spectacular. I think Brian Schottenheimer I don't know how it's an upgrade, but it's an upgrade from Mike McCarthy. They score a lot of points. They score at least 27 points a game, minus the one game against Chicago when they only had 14, right? And I think that was a bit of a buzzsaw because of Eberflus and all that. But you got to ask, the Cowboy fans got to ask themselves, what if we beat Green Bay? We're 4-3 and in the thick of the wild card race. They're still in the wild card race as we speak, but these are the type of things where you're like, wow, they're really still, even with the loss of all this stuff, they can still have a track meet. You thought losing Mike McCarthy, insert Brian Schottenheimer, and boom, fireworks. Dak is playing at MVP level. What I tell you about CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, I think they both had 100 yards. I mean, this is what happens. Why do you think the Giants are searching the trade wire? Because they see what's happening with the two NFC East teams in front of them, and even the team that is not doing as well in the Commanders. He also has, they also have two receivers when healthy, right? So to me, the Cowboys are just they're gonna have a season where they finish 7-10, 8-9, and probably on the cusp of the playoffs. They've got a young offensive line. Okay, if I were them, I'd lock up George Pickens today. Okay, absolutely lock him up today. Yeah, I would lock up Javonte Williams today because he's absolutely having a spectacular year. And then let's see what they do on defense. I thought their defense played a solid game this week. Granted, they did knock Jaden Daniels out of the game and then ended up playing Marcus Mariota, but they had a pick six with Deron Bland. They were getting some pressure on Mariota, making some turnovers. And this is a game for the Cowboys that I'm not saying springboard you, but could give you a little pop in your season and saying, you know what? Look what we did. Look what we did when we can play solid defense. Our offense is a track meet. If if the Cowboys get a couple stops, they can beat you. One stop from the Cowboys defense could be the end of you, right? Because they're running up and down the field on you. So one possession less than the Cowboys get could be your undoing. So I think it's fun to watch, and especially what they did. I can't wait to watch them on Thanksgiving, and really get my turkey and gravy going because I think they're going to have a lot of fun on that day. But I think you're going to see a team that's constantly in the playoff mix. I mean, in the wild card mix. As for the Commanders, these are some of the problems that we saw. Right, their defense is not the defense that they need to be. Their offense without Jaden Daniels clicking is not the same. It's not the same magic. Jaden Daniels last year is having what Jackson Dart is with the Giants. He elevated everybody and made everybody so much better and had so much magic that you forgot that when he was out of the game, what their offense really looks like. And it's not necessarily unspectacular. Mariota can make plays, but they really do rely heavily on Jaden Daniels, making plays and being a playmaker. And that's something that I'm starting to see with Giants too, and we'll get into that in a minute, what I mean. But when you're relying on one guy to rise above everything, no matter what happens, it limits your offense. And I think that's what you're seeing. They're not the same without Brian Robinson Jr. in the running game. Their receivers have been in and out of the lineup with the quarterback. And their defense, while good at times, is clearly their weakness and their Achilles heel, and it's something that we talked about. They have one of the most inconsistent defenses in the league. 1 minute they look like superstars, and the next minute they can't do anything. So, and listen, let's be honest. The Cowboys have given up a ton of points. This is a game that the Commanders could have scored a lot of points in, and they didn't. So I give credit to the Dallas Cowboys and their defense playing a little better. And just
I will say they went against kind of a half behind Commander offense. So you have to acknowledge the fact that not only did Jaden Daniels go down in this football game, they already went into the game without Terry McLaurin, without Deebo Samuel, and something you just said a little while ago makes sense. Like maybe they're probably maybe thinking about the fact that maybe we probably shouldn't have got rid of Brian Robinson Jr. As you see their inability to run the football in this football game as well against the Cowboys. Jaden Daniels, Marcus Mariota were their two leading rushers on the day. And that's not ever going to be good enough.
Well,
in this league, man, when you got both of your quarterbacks are your leading rushers on the day. That's just not good. You need more production out of your running back position, man. So
it's kind of ironic to think, right? During the regular season, this guy, Bill, was playing lights out to the point where you're like, we don't need you, Brian Robinson. Well, you didn't go into the fact that when you lost Austin Eckler, you basically lost your entire run game because you have nobody else to really rely on. No, and Brian Robinson, while he may not be a spectacular back stat-wise, clearly is better than what you got on the roster now, even though you have Mr. Nichols or whatever the heck his name is, then you Joe Corey Karski Cross, right? Like, that's a 7th-round rookie. That guy is what he is. He's a reason he was in the 7th round. And while he might be spectacular in the preseason, we say it all the time. It's a freaking preseason, right? And you got rid of a valuable asset to a team where when you think ahead, when you think back to July, guys are in and out of the lineup. Debo was coming off an injury. Terry McLaurin's coming off an injury. You probably should have kept Brian Robinson around just for the sheer fact that you would have a guy who's reliable in the backfield. And what ended up happening, a guy that goes down, Austin Eckler, blows out his leg. A rookie is being a rookie, right? I mean, that's what it is. You guys for a 7th-round rookie to take starter minutes now, that's what you're going to get. You got 2 backups and Mr. Nichols, who, while he's good, he's not – he's a reason why he's a rotational back, right? And so now when you lose the dynamic of Brian Robinson, your running game is ineffective, meaning Jaden Daniels is now ineffective because the defense is not committed to stopping the run. They know you can't run, so we don't have to worry about adding the extra defenders because now we can add that extra defender to spy on Jaden Daniels, who obviously is compensating on that knee, and that's why he's landed awkwardly and pulled the hamstring. So I think Washington right now is in influx, and they got a lot of soul searching to do, and they can't they lose next week. Their season could spiral out of control.
I mean, I agree with that 1,000%. I think that they're really on the cusp of the season getting completely away from them. But Dallas Cowboys, what's going on too, by the way, Joe, man, in the comments, Jay Ferries, man, and he put up a good comment here about Aubrey and on the Dallas Cowboys. That dude is absolutely a weapon for the Cowboys. The fact that the Cowboys pretty much only have to play half the field. I mean, all they got to do is get to midfield pretty much, and that guy has a chance, man. Right. And this guy legitimately has a chance to kick that field goal. Another 61-yard field goal this past week against Washington as well in this game. I mean, this dude is kicking 60-yard field goals like they're chip shots, man. So yeah, that's definitely a great point, Joe. This is a weapon. We definitely could use a guy like that in New York. We could certainly use a guy like that in New York.
We can't even make extra points.
I wish we had that at our luxury, at our disposal, man. But
oh my God, 61 yarders.
That's how it goes.
Like they're 20 yarders, right? We're trying. We can't even function to kick a 20 yarder. This guy's hitting on routine 61 yarders. He just
that's how it goes.
No fan. Remember back in the day when we would sit there and see a 55-yard field goal and we'd be like, that's a 50-50 chance of making it, right? Now, 80% chance they make it. Even more so sometimes. Like, I don't know what's happening. You know what? I know what's happening. I'll tell you exactly what's happening. I told Zion. I'll tell you now. It's gambling. Everything that they banned before the Caesars Sportsbook came in, the kicking balls, the fucking getting rid of the kickoffs was all gone. All of a sudden, we got Caesars Sportsbook back, and now we have kickers that can kick from 60 yards field goals. We got penalties happening all over the place. Like, if you don't think there's a coincidence, I think you need to wake up. I think you need to wake up and realize that the NFL understands what's going on. They understand the big picture. This has now become a gambling sport. We can't have people tuned off. Every play has to be a scoring play, whether it's a 60-yard field goal or a return for a touchdown. How come there's no onside kicks anymore? Because that shit doesn't work, and you have to do in the kicking zone and all that other bullshit. Look how many games have had meltdowns and people still scoring in all these times. They brought the ball to the 35-yard line. That's not something you do normally. You do that because you want more scoring. You do that because you know the gambling's going to go in. More prop bets are going to be done. They're lining their pockets, and we're sitting here getting the product that we're getting right now. So we can sit here and say, 61-yard field goals. Think about it in a bigger picture. There's a reason they brought back the K-balls. There's a reason they brought back the kickoff return. It's because when you have the betting odds that you do, will it be a kickoff return? You didn't have that back in the day. You couldn't bet a kickoff return because every kickoff was at the fucking touchback and the fucking at the 20. The game became boring. They almost got rid of the return game. But guess what? Now it's back. You have this whole kicking thing that they made. That wasn't for the safety of the game. What safety? You just brought back kicking, right? There's no safety. You brought it back because you know you're going to get another prop bet, another $1 million in your pocket. So that's my rant about that. I have another rant coming later, but that's what I just want to point out.
Thanks for joining us, Ludwig, man. I appreciate you popping in, man. I really appreciate you being a loyal listener, man. But yeah, the Cowboys, though, real quick, I just wanted to bring up the Cowboys. This is by far was their most well-rounded performance of the season, both on every aspect of this football game. They dominated offensively, defensively, special teams. I mean, offensively, what this team was able to accomplish, Dak Prescott just doing what he's been doing all year. Like you said, playing quite at an MVP level, to be honest. Javonte Williams just lighting it up once again, over 100 yards on the ground in this game as well. And then the return of CeeDee Lamb, like he never missed a beat, man. 5 catches, 110 yards, and into the end zone for that big, long touchdown catch that he had. And George Pickens, he wasn't quiet in this one. He was, CeeDee Lamb back, he was a little quieter, but he was still, once again, another rock-solid performance, 4 catches, 82 yards. So this team really putting it together, man. Jay Ferguson had a solid day. I mean, as far as receptions-wise, he didn't really translate in too many yards, but he still had 7 catches on the day, led the team in catches. So, I mean, that's all their top weapons. They had 2 touchdowns, as a matter of fact. Yeah, they had 2 touchdowns. Right. So that's their top. Those are their top weapons right there, getting it done, paying dividends for this football team. And if they can continue consistently like this, they could be a dangerous team, whether we laugh about them, we clown and make crack jokes. But if they can put on performances like this week in and week out, they're going to be a dangerous team down the stretch, man. So we'll keep something to keep an eye on. What's going on, Alex, man?
Let me ask
Good to see you, brother.
A question about the Cowboys. How do you feel about them this year as opposed to last year? Because last year I felt that they were a train wreck and they were bad because of, Dak going down, but I felt there was more drama behind them. Here, they just, I feel like they're going about their business. They win games, they lose games, but it's not the same. I don't know what it is. I'm asking you, do you feel like there's something different about this Cowboy team that I'm not saying they're going to be good or anything, but it's just the drama kind of is not the same with them like it is last year. I don't know how you feel, but that's what I feel like. Even though they lost Micah Parsons, that's over, and now they're just kind of just going about their business.
Well, I think that's what it was. At the start of the season, that was all the big, all the big drama they had surrounding them all through the off season, the Micah Parsons thing and everything like that, and all those kind of things. And now this team is they're starting to, they finally been able to truly move on, and they're starting to find their foot. Like you said, offensively, there hasn't really been much of a problem offensively with this football team all season, to be quite frank. They've had the ability to score points. They've demonstrated that ability to score points, even with those 3 games without CeeDee Lamb. I think it was about 3 without CeeDee Lamb. This George Pickens just stepped right on up to wide receiver 1, like no problem. You know what I mean? So it's just, I don't know. I mean, defensively they still have things to prove, because I think they won against a very wounded Washington Commanders team on Sunday, and that might have aided in their defense looking a lot better than it has at any point this season. But I mean, time will tell, man. Maybe a switch going on with that defense, and I think that's what the real key to this Cowboys team is going to be, because you know what they can do on the offensive side of the football. That goes without saying. But defensively, they still have a lot to prove, and I think beating up on a wounded Washington team doesn't prove enough to me quite yet. But I just want to see more. But it was a good performance. They definitely demonstrated it was a really good performance, and like I said, their best of the season by far. Well,
okay, so they beat up on a wounded team, right? But that's a confidence builder. Sometimes, to me, you got to build we scored a defensive touchdown. We did this. If we play our best, we can look like this, right? So while, yes, the opponent they beat down was that, but they, that's what they're doing. They're dominating weaker teams like this. They dominated the Jets. They dominated a team like the Commanders. And, this time their defense kind of, kicked in with the scoring and helping out. I feel like if they're, as players, starting to build that confidence, saying, hey, look, we know we're not, the 86 Bears, the 85 Bears, right? But we can be a bend but don't break defense. And like I said, it takes 6 to 8 weeks to get a defense. Maybe they're starting to understand Eberflus's concepts, right? And maybe against this team that it became, I guess maybe it clicked for them, or maybe they, like you said, they started to gel a little bit. Like, oh, this is what we did. We're putting the players in place that we need to do it. And this game could be a game where, they build a little confidence, and we don't see the sieve that is the Cowboy defense on that, because you didn't see many busted coverages in this game. It wasn't like guys running completely wide open, right? And they got enough pressure on Mariota to force him to make mistakes and take advantage of it. So build off of it. Let's see what the Cowboy defense can do going forward from here. And while you said yes, it is a wounded duck in the Commanders, they still went out there and put the clamps down on a team that beat them up last year. And I think you never know what a win like this can do for a team like the Cowboys, who needed a performance like that from their defense to believe, like, hey, maybe we can make some noise and be in the wild card mix.
We will see. We will see. Time will only tell. But let's get to the New York Giants and Denver Broncos, bro, because we need to talk about that, and that's going to monopolize the majority of the rest of the show, I feel like, because there's a lot to talk about with this one, bro. I'll let you. Let's let you go, man. I'll let you go, Adam. Just go ahead and let them have it, man.
So I've been stewing about this for days. How in the world do you lose a game like this? Like Mac was saying to you, we were having a conversation that we were putting belt to ass on the Denver Broncos. This team came out and talked shit to you, and wow, Giants were doing good. I'm sitting there surprised as a mother because of what's going on. I'm like, damn, did I miss the boat? Man, we're going to go 3-4, and then we're going to kick the Eagles' butt, and who knows, maybe we're winning the division. No. Complete and utter embarrassment. And I'll start by the defense, and we'll get to every part of it to begin with. The defense, what in the hell are you guys doing with 5 minutes to go? I don't want to hear about excuses. Oh, well, the altitude. Screw the altitude. That team went to fucking England. That team was in London the week before. They had jet lag and all this other shit that they had. Don't tell me about fucking mile-high air, okay? Secondly, what are we doing in the fourth quarter? We can't stop a nosebleed. We were dominating them, and we couldn't do shit. We can't cover. We lost Adebo and Holland, and then Banks doesn't do anything. Like, I don't want to hear at the end of the game, well, we put young players in. I don't care. You put players on the game, execute the fucking play. I don't want to hear you, Brian Burns, okay? I don't want to hear you. Make a play. I understand it sucks, and the defensive coordinator, I'll get to your ass in a second, because I don't understand how you still have a fucking job. But the fucking defense, you need to step up. When they needed you the most, you failed. And we can blame everybody and this, that, and the other thing. The DB's failure. Deontay Banks, goodbye. Andrew Phillips, goodbye. You guys are terrible. Absolutely terrible. The linebacking core is terrible. And this vaunted pass rush, when we needed it the most, where was it? Where was it? We had 2 sacks all day. Where was it in the last 5 minutes? You cannot lose a football game like this when you're up. You know how many games back it was that went on when a team had 18 plus points in the fourth quarter? 1,600 games. Do you know how many that is? 1,600 games have been played where the team has won. The only team to lose in the history of the NFL is the New York Giants. This is why this team is bad. When you find new ways to lose, you're on another record for losing, not a record for good. We were on the record against the Cowboys for having the most kicks against us for the longest field goals. Now we're on here for the first team in fucking 25 years, 30 years. 50 years, 1970, to be fucking losing in 5 minutes. And it's an epic loss. One of the top 5 in history. As for you, Shane Bowen, you fucking suck too. What are you doing calling these plays? How do you do that? Your quarterback has played an absolute banger of a game, a fucking classic, a game that you're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I let that kid sit on the bench for 3 weeks. And you blow it in the last 5 minutes? Are you kidding me? And Brian Dable, I don't want to hear shit. That guy should be fired. You fired the kicker. Why is Shane Bowen still on your team? If he's the reason you lost the game, and clearly it was, then he should be fired. But what are you doing passing the ball on third down when all you had to do was give him a handoff and call a timeout? What were you doing? You're partly to blame too, because you let your coordinators do the fucking dumbest shit in the world. You let fucking Kafka let a rookie throw the ball in his hands and he makes a mistake and they get the ball and the momentum has completely shifted. You let your fucking defensive coordinator run fucking prevent defense in the last 5 minutes of the game where you had a complete and utter meltdown, and then you decided not to start a kicker with starting experience because you wanted some guy named Judy McAnany from fucking Germany to start who missed 2 fucking field goals, 2 extra points, which cost you the fucking game.
Yeah, yeah, well, like I said what I had to say about the kicker yesterday. As far as the Shane Bowen thing, like I don't get it, man. I don't get it with Brian. And this is where I what brings me to the thing about questioning Brian Daboll is because as the head coach of this football team, at some point you got to take the reins, bro. If he's out there, like you got to, because defensively, you got to stay aggressive in those situations. You can't make it that easy for any NFL quarterback, let alone a good NFL quarterback, which Bo Nix is a good NFL quarterback. He ain't like Patrick Mahomes or anything, but he's still a good NFL quarterback. You can't give any guy that kind of time sitting back there and just being like, oh, we're just going to rush 3 and drop 8 in coverage and let him sit back there and just do until he can finally find somebody. Because guess what? He's in the NFL for a reason. He's going to find somebody, which he did. And the thing about Brian Daboll that pisses me off is when you see Shane Bowen calling this bullshit, you're just letting it happen. You're not taking the reins. You're not saying, you know what? No, I'm trumping that. We're not doing that. You know what I mean? You at some point you have to be the head coach. You got to take over if he's doing things that are leading you down a journey to fail. That's leading you on a journey to fail, which is what that was. Like a lot of reasons why we lost this football game on Sunday. The kicker obviously being a big one. The defense down the stretch being a huge one. But the play calling and the incompetence of these coaches also ultimately is the trump card. And it's the biggest reason we lost on Sunday because once again, poor decision after poor decision after poor decision by this coaching staff is what ultimately cost us this football game. Ultimately.
You're right. Situational awareness. Things that you go over. Everything is attention to detail. Okay? Attention to fucking detail. You want to be the best, you got to act like you're the best. You can't just be the best for 3.5 quarters, 3 quarters and 55 minutes, right? You can't do it. You got to be the best all the time. And Dart can't be your savior. He can't pull your ass out of the fire. He lucked out and scored a touchdown. By the way, 3 penalties on the Denver defense put you in that position. He should have not. That game should have been over at 23-30. But because of the refs and the Vegas odds, there was questionable calls called throughout that fucking entire fucking sequence, which you lucked out. And then when you did give them the touchdown, you got the ball back. Why aren't you saying to him, don't let them get to the 40. Don't let them do anything, right? No, you didn't. You didn't override it. So I blame just as much as everybody Brian Daboll as this. No accountability. He should have walked up on that podium. You know what he should have said on that podium? My fault that we lost this game. I let my team down. I never should have put us in that position. As the head coach, I should have made the final call on how we played the defense. Instead, when you go up there, well, you hummed and hawed, because you're not a leader. You're not a leader of men. You're a scapegoat artist, and that's what you did with Wink Martindale, and that's what you're going to do with Shane Bowen, and you're going to ride the coattails of Jackson Dart to try to get another year out of this fucking regime because you're saying, look what I did with Jackson Dart. Meanwhile, we know what you are. You're a sniveling little prick who can't handle situational football. There is no way that we can blame the coordinators. Yeah, they're at fault. But at the end of the day, who do the coordinators report to?
I agree with this comment as well from Alex, man. Like you said, to me, that's what it starts with. The soft ass practices, little weak shit. Like it's just everything is just it's too vanilla. And this to me is not even. I wouldn't even. This is a league thing to me. This NFL is just crazy to me, man. It's football, goddammit. These guys play football and they know what they sign up to do. That's why they get paid the big bucks. All this little soft ass shit y'all do and everything, all all this craziness. To me, I can't.
I practice. Like, give me a break.
I'll never be able to get with any of that, man. It's just crazy to me. But that's something. But this New York Giant team, man, on Sunday, we dominated nearly 3.5 quarters of this football game. The New York Giants dominated this football game. We went into this game, and we're in the fourth quarter of this football game, and I was talking about how I thought we were going to actually pull a shutout on the road. When the last time we seen the Giants do that? And then all of a sudden, the wheels just fall off. And I know a lot of people were, Jackson Dart's a rookie, young guy. That interception, he still has to be held accountable for that interception, man. It's not something you can just gloss over and be like, oh, he's a rookie. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. You can't gloss over it. Because the fact of the matter is, as much as the defense let us down in this football game and everything else that we talked about, that interception was truly the true turning point that really kind of cement that really kind of just swung the momentum fully in this game. Was that interception? I mean, it just was. It just is what it is. But Jackson Dart went out there. He played phenomenal. If you're looking for good things to take away from this football game, that's another good thing. That he went out there. He still accounted for 4 touchdowns on the day, 3 in the air, the one that he ran in at the end. And this is the kind of ride it's going to be for us as Giant fans. We got to just get ready for 2025 is going to be the highs and it's going to be the lows, man. Dealing with this football team, dealing with these coaches and until they get things under control. And that's just what it's going to be about, unfortunately. It's just tough that you have to, when you sit there and witness something like we all as fans saw on Sunday and watched on Sunday. I mean, Alex, your stream was incredible on Sunday, by the way. Shout out to you, man. You came back, did a stream with your brother and your buddies, man. And that stream was helpful, man, for me. It was helpful for me on Sunday because I was really, I was in a dark place Sunday evening, man. And then listening to you guys, it kind of just was able to, pep me up a little bit, get me back to, just get me back into a normal, mind way of thinking, man. But there are some things to take away because I'm gonna tell you about this. And Joe Ferry, thank you for bringing this up, man. Andrew Thomas, man, in this football game, Andrew Thomas once again probably playing the best football of his career. Honestly, This guy, Andrew Thomas, completely made Nick Bonito a non-factor in this football game. He didn't even know Nick Bonito was out there. Nick Bonito's been lighting it up, by the way, defensively for the Broncos, if anybody does not know. When he came into this game leading the league in sacks. And Andrew Thomas made him look like nothing out there, man, on Sunday. Honestly, Andrew Thomas was shutting him down. Jermaine Luminor had another solid game. And these things are the kind of things that go unnoticed because of what the Giants, what the end result of this football game and what the Giants did, man. I mean, I know people have their gripes about like a guy like Drew Phillips. He's one of those Jekyll and Hyde kind of players. He's absolutely been terrible in coverage. He is, but he's also that guy that'll stick his nose in there and come up there and make a good stick and make plenty of good sticks too. So it's like with him, he's one of those. It's like I said, he definitely has to step up his game and get better in the coverage aspect of his game. But this guy does a lot of good things on his defense as well, man. And we can't. I know people were saying, "Oh, get rid of Drew Phillips," but no, Drew Phillips makes plays for this defense. He does. He just also gets burned a lot on the back end as well. So it's almost like you live and die with a guy like him. Deontay Banks, get him out of here. He's trash. When he came in this game, it was absolutely they just Bo Nix looked like a different quarterback once Banks got out there. So clearly, he's a problem. He has. I think only thing he can do at this point is special teams, maybe. You know what I mean? At this point, I mean, unfortunately, that's just how it goes. You just gotta be like that, man. Sometimes. So this one it hurt because you just like I said, this was a game that there was no doubt in my mind this team should have won. Just like week 2 against the Cowboys, no doubt this team should have won this football game. And like I said. Initially, I was looking for who to blame, but it just really comes down to this coaching staff, man. They're an incompetent group, man. Even the fact, like I said, we did get rid of that terrible kicker yesterday finally, but why did it take till Tuesday? Why the hell did it take till Tuesday? His ass should have been cut Sunday night. When you're on the airplane, you should have said, look, when we land, man, go clean your locker out and go home and don't come back. You should have just, point blank. It shouldn't even have been no more conversation other than that. That dude should not have been around for the next 2 days as part of this team. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know. I can't. Well, on a note, Darius Slayton is back in the lineup. Hopefully, he can add some kind of a spark.
Oh, great.
And maybe we'll see. And hopefully, another thing about this game too that I wanted to mention is the tight end situation on this team. I know Theo Johnson makes some plays here and there. He does. But why is he? It just doesn't seem like he should just be anointed the number tight end one when you got like a Bellinger that had 88 yards in like the first quarter on Sunday, and then all of a sudden we didn't throw the ball to him not one more time the rest of the game. Like he was just, I don't. These are the things that bother me when I watch the New York Giants play football, man. It's just
management. Roster management is terrible. You have 4 tight ends. You don't even use the best one on the field, and Daniel Bellinger. You have an up and down tight end because he has so much potential. And Theo Johnson, good catch off a ricochet. He did it. It's more of an indictment on Wan'Dale Robinson not catching the ball than Theo Johnson being in the right place at the right time. That's not a physical trait play. Good for him for scoring, but Daniel Bellinger needs to be utilized more if you need weapons. The problem is the Giants don't know what identity to run because, again, we're going with the head coaches. I'm not going to, give out participation trophies because this game's not about participation trophies because no mess is right. For the 55 minutes of the game, we weren't thinking about, how good this was that, and given that. We were thinking about, man, let's go kick the Eagles' ass and get back in this race. Now that we lost, we want to high five and, this guy played good and this guy played. No. I'm having the same energy that I had on Sunday. I'm not taking these little wins. We lost a meltdown game. You want to remain a loser. You high five things that you high five in a loss. You want to remain a winner. You get pissed off that you lost the game and have a meltdown and you go take it out on Philadelphia. That's what we got to do. We got to stop being, this guy played well, because that's our loser mentality. And that's what we keep doing. We don't have a winning mentality because our coaches can't figure out a way to situationally close out football games. Okay? Because no matter what happened, that even if that did happen, the Jackson Dart thing happened, you should have been able to close out the football game. And you let that kid out to dry, and he luckily got lucked out by the over-aggressiveness of that defense to put you in a spot. This could have been a worse game. It could have been 30-23 and not have the exciting finish or the heartbreaking loss that we had. It would have been like, the Giants lost again. But the fact that you scored and you didn't have the wherewithal to know the situation that you're putting in young DBs back there, right? Because you were so scared. This is what probably happened with Shane Bowen. They probably got so scared that these cornerbacks that were put in there, who were 5th and 6th stringers, probably practice squad guys, would have given up a touchdown in the last play or a big play that he'd rather take what's in front of them and tackle them. However, what he didn't anticipate was his players standing there watching the players catch the ball and not making a play on the ball. So it's twofold. It's you for running the dumb play and being scared, right? And playing not to win. It's not, that saying not to lose? No, we're changing it to not to win. Because that's what you're essentially trying to do, is you're trying not to win. I'd rather have you go out on your sword and give up a big play because you brought the house and Bo Nix made the right adjustment, right call, and called the hot route, and the guy runs in for a touchdown. And yeah, sure, it's heartbreaking, but damn, you went down on your shield. You didn't do that. You went against all the grain. And you have to give Brian Daboll this is the reason why I don't know if this season is good. I don't want Brian Daboll here if they don't make the playoffs. Right? I don't care about the growth of Jackson Dart or any of that bullshit. You're not going to paste that over me, because at the end of the day, it's about winning games, and you were brought in here to win. It's your fault that Dart didn't start, right? It's your fault that these teams, that we constantly lose games in the same fashion. You just said we lost games in heartbreaking fashion with the Cowboys and the fucking Broncos. How many times do teams lose a game in the same fashion in the same season? We've done it twice. In not even in the same half of the season. It's not like this happened at the end of the year. It's happened at the same half of the season. Have some urgency. Have some dedication. Take some accountability. Until this coach changes his ways, we're not going anywhere with this guy. It doesn't matter what Jackson Dart looks like or how it looks. We're going to have the same issues crop up every single time. Oh, we have a visitor. You're muted.
I say, yeah, that's my little nephew, my little homie. But he yeah, it's crazy. I feel like things are it, it- we keep falling on the wrong side of history, man. Like the wrong side of history constantly, man. This ain't the history we're trying to make, man. These kind of deflating losses. I mean, I got brought up yesterday on my rant yesterday about the kicker, man. Look at just the way things get handled. Look at when Matt Dodge kicked that damn punt to Sean Jackson. That Joker did not have a job the next day. He did not have a job, and he was a draft pick. Remember that. Matt Dodge was a draft pick that season, and it still did not stop his ass from being released for being an idiot. So, like, that's what I mean with this regime. Everything is just very incompetent when it comes to those guys, man.
But that's why we have to get rid of them. Because when you have this level of incompetency, it doesn't matter how good you'll be, you'll always fall on the level of incompetency. We're talking about right now, a coach is not changing his ways. We're year 4 in this regime. Okay? Year fucking 4. We can't sit here and say, well, he's going to get back. No, a tiger don't change his stripes. People don't like working with him. Okay? No one's going to come here after you fire Shane Bowen because they know they're going to be on a short leash. All right. I know that, like, what am I going to do? All the rumors are true. You ran 2 defensive coordinators out of here, right? You're going to run Wink Martindale out of here, and you're going to run Shane Bowen out of here. There's guys that didn't want to take your job because they were afraid of you. You know what I mean? And so to me, all I want is a GM and a head coach to be on the same page. It was before we were talking about 0-3, we heard rumors of these guys not being on the same page. They win a couple games, and now we're like, oh, they're best friends, and now we're at 2-5, and people are like, well, this is going to be an up and down season. No, we can't just ignore things because we have a shiny toy that's doing well. We know Jackson Dart can get through Brian Dable. Brian Dable shouldn't be rewarded because Jackson Dart's playing out of his mind. Okay, did Caleb Williams did Matt Eberflus get rewarded for Caleb Williams? No, they fired his ass. They said, even though you had a bad offense, even though you had this, we expected this, and they fired him. And look what they're doing right now with Ben Johnson. He's playing a lot better. Did they care about Anthony Lynn when they drafted Justin Herbert and they were coming up short? No, they knew they had a talent in Justin Herbert. They kept it fucking moving and they got better coaching. Jackson Dart is him. He's one of those guys where you don't need to worry about fucking Brian Dable and keeping him around. You need to go get yourself. If John Harbaugh's available, I'm making the call. If there's a guy that I know is better than the guy that I have, you as an organization, you as a business should be looking for the best talent, not just on the field, but all across the board. And if you have to make a change because you think something's better, don't just hold something because you are loyal to them. Sometimes loyalty is also a detriment because if you're overly loyal, results don't get done. Okay? And if there's a guy out there that happens to be somebody like a Tomlin or Harbaugh, because they're like, we're going to go in a different direction, you should be on the first phone call there. And if that guy says, you know what, I don't want to work with Joe, I'll have your job, but I want to work with Joe Shane, I'm firing him too. So get out of here. I'm going to have John Harbaugh, a future Hall of Famer, coaching my quarterback and getting the best out of my talent every week. And because of injuries and things like that, they're having a bad year. I don't think they'll fire John Harbaugh, but if they decide to make a move and he's a guy on the market, you don't hesitate. They do it in business all the time. Jobs are let go all the time for better performances, cheaper pay, whatever reason. Do you want your organization to thrive or do you want to meander in the muck? I'm talking to you, John Mara, because if you want to meander in the muck, you keep Brian Dable around for your continuity. And you're going to see the same result with Jackson Dart. You're going to be a 500 football team because the guy can't get you over the hump because of situational football. And we're going to be sitting here wasting 2 or 3 prime years of this kid getting into the playoffs for a guy who's not even supposed to be here. Just saying.
What's going on, AK, in the chat, man? Appreciate you popping in, bro. But yeah, it's been brutal. And it's been rough, and it's been a rough few days, man. But we're getting it all up. We're getting it all, trying to get it all out now for sure.
Well, you hope, because if you and I are feeling like this, what do you think the players are feeling? How do you go back in on Wednesday morning and get critiqued by the guy that cost you the game twice? How are you going to go in there and believe that this coach is going to put me in the right place? Like,
Well,
I know
speaking of putting in the right place. Let's go to something real quick. Let's talk about Brian Burns and his comments after the game, walking through the tunnel. The video that seemed to go viral with him saying what he said, and now apologizing and saying that he wasn't calling out Shane Bowen or anything like that. I don't personally. I don't think he needed to apologize for any damn thing. You don't have to apologize for speaking the truth, bro. I'm one of those people that you don't have to ever apologize. You never should have to apologize for speaking the truth. And the truth of the matter is, you guys were playing a punk ass, soft ass defense at the time, being called by your coach and having you guys setting you up for failure. Like I said, when you have Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau, there is no reason you're not pinning your ears back and getting after it. And making Bo Nix feel as uncomfortable as you were making him feel throughout the whole rest of the game prior to this fourth quarter. To me, it's just unacceptable to feel like to just go back into the same dumb shit that you lost the game week 2 the same way, and you do the same thing. That is grounds for termination. That's absolutely grounds for termination.
I don't think he should apologize. He's a captain, so he's venting his frustration. And to me, that's what I'm saying. How can you go back? How are you taking accountability, Brian Burns, for saying I apologize? What do you apologize for? They got caught on a hot mic saying this fucking stinks in layman's terms? Like, no. You go in there and you're like, yeah, there should be accountability on this team. You know, we had a horrible game plan. We should never do that again. Maybe that'll put a fire under his ass. Because guess what's going to happen this week? The same shit that we talked about against the Cowboys is going to be the same shit we're talking about this week when we go up against the Eagles, where we're going to be over aggressive and not have the horses that we need because guys are banged up, and it's going to look like a shit show. And I'm telling you right now, as much as these guys want to play, they're losing faith in them. You can just tell they're losing faith in them. You don't make comments like that. You don't, and let's talk. You want to talk about somebody? Let's talk about a few players. Kayvon Thibodeau. I don't want to hear about this guy no more. Okay, everyone's telling me this guy's fucking phenomenal. Pressures don't mean nothing to me. You know how many pressures Leonard Williams had in his 1.5 sack season? He had over 100 pressures. He only had 1.5 sacks. And if you're not leading those pressures into getting interceptions and turnovers on the back end, it don't mean a damn thing to me. It's just another little tick on the stat sheet. The guy is not making the impact it needs. Okay, we're not doing the things that we need to do defensively. We don't have creativity. He's calling out a defense because we need a change. Dexter Lawrence is getting pressure and doing what he is, but he's not being Dexter Lawrence, right? And to me, this coaching staff is what's holding these players back, and even the most talented players can't overcome stupidity. And I'm not worried about his comments, but I do think that there is a fracture in the locker room right now, in the defensive locker room, because you got in 1 minute he's frustrated, the next minute he's apologizing. What does that do to the locker room? How can I now be the captain of your team if I don't even believe in the words that they say? I don't. You are out there as our leader, and you're coming off the field in disgust, and now you're apologizing for your actions. I can't take you seriously. I can't take the defensive coordinator seriously, and I don't know how I'm going to believe you're gonna hold it together for the next games, because there is no easy game on the schedule until the Raiders. You play the Eagles, the Niners, you play the Patriots. You still have the whole NFC North to play. None of these games are going to be easy when they come in there. Okay, it's only getting harder, and the frustration is going to build. As if you look at mathematically, you're 2-5. There are teams above you that have a better record. If you split every team above you's games by 5, right down the middle, at 5 and 5, because there's 10 games to go, right? You're not making the playoffs. The Giants are a 7-10 team, and everybody else that splits their games has a game or two better than you. So right now, you've got to ask yourself, is it worth losing more games to keep this guy around? Because it's only going to get worse as you continue to play games. It's going to get worse to the point where it looks like teams are going to quit on you. Even though Jackson Dart is going to be playing his heart out, guys are going to quit on you. There's only a certain amount of time where Banks doesn't take any accountability. The coach doesn't take any accountability. The one guy that does take accountability now backtracks his thoughts because, it's going to look bad. Like, give me a break. Give me a break.
Well, no, because I want to say that about the leaders of this football team, the people like the Brian Burns, the Dexter Lawrences, the Jackson Darts, these guys all stepped up and like really stepped up, honestly. I think that's a sign of change with the New York Giants. That is the sign of change. I'm talking about New York Giants. That's a positive sign of change. Like I said, I'm not going to sit here and keep dwelling on the negative. Nobody thought this would be a good season anyway, and I think it's still going to ultimately be better than people thought when it's all said and done. Because this week in and week out, we're not going to be that team that teams are going to just roll over for. You're going to have to still earn your victories against the New York Giants, no matter what, no matter what it is. And so I think ultimately we just got to accept the fact that this is going to be that roller coaster ride all season. It's the rest of the way. That's what it's going to be. That's what we got to deal with. So now we have to humble. We got a little above ourselves, I feel like, as a fan base after the beat down against the Eagles. We got kind of above ourselves, I believe, and we put ourselves in a position to feel like we do right now after that deflating loss on Sunday against the Broncos. That's what this team is going to be. We are a team that doesn't have a lot of talent compared to a lot of other teams in this league. We don't have a lot. We don't have a lot of the talent. We don't have the talent doesn't stack up to most of the teams in this league, and we kind of know that. But we got a quarterback that's elevating the play of a lot of these mediocre guys, a lot of other mediocre talent that's on this team around him. He's elevating the play of those guys, and that's always a good sign, a good trend. I kind of at this point now, I'm ready to kind of move on. And stop dwelling on this and start thinking about some of the positive things we can start looking at for the potential of this team in the future. Not talking about beyond 2025, obviously. Not what I'm expecting to happen this year.
I'm not saying that you're wrong to be optimistic, but at the thick of it, right? You beat the Eagles, you beat the Denver Broncos. I'm not looking at 2026 now. I'm looking at 2025.
Yeah, that's different. Yeah, you're right. That's absolutely different.
But because now we know the season is all but over in terms of making a miraculous playoff run, we now revert back to what we thought the season was going to be. Listen, we all thought the season was going to be bad, but when you sit back and you unpack the games, we had a chance to win the Cowboy game, we blew that. We had a chance to win this game, we blew that game. We had a chance to beat the Saints, we blew that game. We blew 3 games in this season for errors that are believed to be on coaching and discipline. To me, nothing is going to change in 2026 if this guy is still here. Sure, we might win more than expected. Sure, we don't win 3 games, we win 6 or 7. Great. But at the end of the day, is Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen the guy that's going to take me over the hump? I don't believe so. So instead of sitting here wasting time and high-fiving about that, that's what you say to the next coach. Hey, look at our quarterback. Look what he did with, Bo Collins and all these other bums around him and a bad offensive line and a terrible coach. Look what he did. We're bringing you in because we think you can get this defense together, get this team together, and get us over the top. I don't want to see next year we finish 6-11, 7-10, and they're like, well, Brian Daboll's going to fire Shane Bowen and bring in somebody else and hope that it works out again because Mike Kafka is going to be Mike Kafka, Shea Tierney is going to be Shea Tierney, and Daboll's going to be Daboll. He doesn't have balls or cojones. This has been his MO for 4 fucking years. I'm not just going to exonerate him for having one good season and making Dart look good. It's really Dart making him look good rather than him having a bad season. We had Russell Wilson coming into this year and had people telling me to start Russell Wilson because you wanted to be competitive. Now that the season's all but over, we're sitting here saying, well, let's be happy that we have Jackson Dart. Oh, I'm happy that we have Jackson Dart, but I'm not going to be happy if Jackson Dart saves his job because we're happy about some shiny toys. At the end of the day, Brian Daboll is failing his team, has failed us week to week, and what we saw in a season is a microcosm of who he is. The fact that you lose a game the same way twice in 3.5 weeks or 4 weeks is terrible to me. Okay, absolutely terrible. And it's not going to change as long as this guy is on the field. And just because Jackson Dart is outplaying these teams, I want to see Illuminor do well. I want to see who's going to be here for the long haul. I don't need to see Brian Daboll anymore. I know what he's at.
This brings me to another point, Joe. This comment here, Wan'Dale Robinson, wide receiver 1, laugh out loud. Yeah. Well, Wan'Dale Robinson was the only wide receiver to even catch a damn ball on Sunday, which is also, once again, just not acceptable. At this point now, cut your losses. Swallow your goddamn pride. Trade Jalen Hyatt for a 5th, 6th round pick, whatever you can get for him. You might not even be able to get that for him at this point. Who knows? But it's a waste of skin. He's a waste of a uniform, a waste of a roster spot on this football team. There's no purpose for him to be in here. This man has no ability to step up. Even when the opportunity is right there in front of him, he still can't step up and rise to the occasion. So just cut your damn losses. You had no problem getting rid of Kadarius Toney, dumbass, once you got here. I guess what? Because you didn't draft him because he wasn't one of your guys. You had no problem getting rid of him. You knew how to pull the trigger on that and make that move. Well, make this move too. Just get rid of this fucking guy, man, because I'm tired of watching him at this point put on a New York Giant uniform because he's useless to the New York Giants.
I blame him.
Useless.
I blame him. You telling me you can't get that guy on a bubble screen, a smoke screen? I mean, you can even tell Dart in the huddles, making it smell like you got to design plays for that guy. You're not designing plays for that guy because you're not a good coach. You're too busy worried about playing music and dancing around than actually having a good game plan to go out there. Look, I understand what No Mess is saying, drop 32 points on the defense, and you don't want to break up the continuity. I get it. But at the end of the day, you're spinning your wheels with this team. Details matter. Just because guys are playing above the X's and O's and giving you those points doesn't mean anything. Closing out games, being disciplined when it matters most, having your team have a meltdown, the fact that you're getting called out in the media, this is a house of cards waiting to fall. And all we're doing is because have a life or a pulse or a hope with Jackson Dart, we might want to keep it. I'm looking macroly. Microly, we need to worry about beating the Eagles and seeing where the chips fall where they may. I think it's going to be a feisty bunch because our quarterback is a fucking dog. He's a fucking dog. He's not going to go down because he doesn't know anything else but how to be a dog. Okay? The quarterback doesn't take on the personality of his coach. He's a winner. His coach is a loser. Just like when they had the other quarterback here. There's a reason why the other quarterback is doing well now because they know how to treat players and give them and put them in the positions to fucking do well. Why do you think all these players are going other places and doing well? Because the coach staff doesn't know how to use them. Wando Robinson, great. Good job for you. The fact that he's the only one that touched the ball is an indictment on Joe Shane. The fact that you can't get a speedster on the last play of the game, basically that's it. You could have ran that play all day. You could have cooked them. You didn't because you don't know how to game plan correctly. If Jalen Hyatt or Darius Slayton are on the fucking Chiefs right now, we'd be talking about they be household names because they be getting end around. Hell, Kadarius Toney even did something for them. Okay, that guy did nothing for the Giants. They found a way to use that guy. Okay. You're telling me that these good coaches can't find a way to use speed? It's blasphemy.
That is, like you said, it's just a complete incompetence by the staff. And I don't think we can no need to keep banging that damn drum at this point. I mean, all we can do is get ready for what we got in front of us. And hopefully this team can show what they're made of and show that they can wash the stink of Sunday off of them and get ready for a big NFC showdown on Sunday against a team that they absolutely went out there and took it to a couple of weeks ago and is going to be coming in angry for this one at home this time in Philly. For this one will be in Philly. And sure, the Giants, I got Giants coming in with a chip on their shoulder as well, a little pissed off, should be coming in pissed off after what happened on Sunday. Eagles will be coming in pissed off after what we did to them a couple of weeks ago. So this is going to be two angry teams, two bulls in the ring, man. Colliding. I don't know what's your take on the game for this Sunday, Adam.
Well, I'm hoping that the game wasn't too emotionally draining for the Giants because the way they lost the game in epic fashion does take a toll on you. Like we said, we're Wednesday and we still have feelings about the game. The Eagles, have been thinking about this game since their ass whooping. They knew they were going to come out and beat Minnesota. They knew that shit. Now they're ready for you, and they're coming into their building. It's going to be a tough one. I picked the Giants last week to win. I'm not picking them now. I just think the season's over. It doesn't matter to me what happens in this game because the schedule's tougher and tougher, and I just think this Eagle team is going to find a way to win at home. They don't, losing one, fine. We hope that we split. I think they're going to split. I don't think there's going to be a sweep that happens. Call me crazy. I think finishing 500 in the division is exactly where the Giants need to be. And, they have two more games, and I think they're going to be able to do that, but I think the Eagles are going to I think the Eagles are going to get by on this one. I think they have a lot of momentum. I think they're motivated for this game. Not that they weren't before, but you just see it in the way they've talked and how they're going about their business and the things that they're coming out of their camp. They're not chirping, they're not doing anything, but you can tell the energy is, oh, we got embarrassed. We're not gonna put that performance out against them. So I think the Giants are gonna put up a good fight, but in the end, I just think the Eagles are gonna just be a little too much.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you on that. I think ultimately it's going to be another competitive football game. I think you're going to get competitive football games for the most part from this Giants. Like I said, from this Giants team, they're not like the laughing stock they were a season ago as far as just going in there and it's just they're just going to get their ass kicked. I mean teams are going to have to earn their victories against this Giants team, but I just think from an emotional standpoint coming into this game, I think the Eagles are just more. They'll just be more ready, you know what I mean, to handle those high emotions and control them and keep things in check. I think it'll be a close game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think the Eagles will win this game the kind of the way they've been winning the games that they won all season. It'll just be another one of those games where when it comes down to the stretch and they're going to make the plays that the Giants aren't able to make, and I think that's what it's going to come down. I think this could easily be another one score type of affair. But I think the Eagles end up besting the Giants this week just because it's just hard right now. The Giants they haven't also just we didn't talk about it much yet, but they haven't proven the ability to win football games on the road. I mean, they just haven't proven that ability either. I think what's the last road win against Seattle last year? That was the last road win. Yeah, that's the last time we won a road game against the Seattle Seahawks. Like, what was that, like week 4 or 5 last year?
Yeah.
Or something like that. So until the Giants can prove they can go on the road and go into someone else's house and make enough plays to get a victory, I just can't. I'm having a hard time picking them when they're on the road in particular right now, man. I just can't do it. And I got to go with the Eagles in the close one here, man.
Here's something that people are saying, right? Well, what if they win? See, the season's not changed for me. The season's over for me. Because mathematically, it's a daunting task for the Giants to beat a lot of these teams that we're not thinking about. We thought the Patriots were going to be an easy win. That's not going to be an easy game, right? The Giants are bereft of talent on the offensive side of the ball. It's going to come back to bite them against some of these defensive coordinators. And just because we hate the Eagles and I watched the Viking game, that Viking game was their best game. You think that we have corners that are playing? Adebo and Holland may not be in the game, and we're starting Banks against A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. They're going to find a way. They were able to pass the ball against us last game. The thing that killed the Eagles last game was their third down conversion rate, which was like 1 of 18, some ridiculous number. That's not going to happen.
And by the way, this Sunday we're playing an Eagles team that will have Jalen Carter and will have Kenyon Mitchell,
right,
as part of out on the field on their defense. Something that they did not have a couple weeks ago against the Giants. Just throwing that out there as food for thought. That's 2 of their best defensive players.
And Nakobe Dean, right?
Nakobe Dean. Well, they had Nakobe Dean the first one against us too. But it was his first game back, so he wasn't really. But he was still getting reacclimated. Yeah.
What I'm saying is, we're coming in banged up. They're coming in healthy, right? We're coming in off a epic loss. Like, had they won this game, I'm with you, Mano Mets. I'm pumping my chest, saying, "Let's go get the division." At this point, I know how these type of games end up. It's an emotional roller coaster, and the fact that you don't like the defensive coordinator, and you're already going to be under the microscope. It's going to be tough every week because the games that you lose close because they're not going to win that many more are going to be out there, and it's going to come back to bite them, and you're going to see it fracture at some point if they don't come out. Like the defense this week, don't be sorry. Go out and show me that you can win the game. If they don't and they're getting manhandled because they're scared because Deontay Banks can't fucking cover anybody, and Corey Black, who hasn't played a damn snap in the NFL, is getting cooked by A.J. Brown, he's going to change your game plan. Like, this is a game where I'm worried that the psyche of the Giants, defensively at least, is, could be on display, and I know that they're going in to win there. Dart's going to give you a chance. That's for damn sure. He's going to give you a chance. But it's the mental makeup of this defense and this. Will they be able to handle it if they're getting cooked? Are they going to be able to say, "Oh, it was Banks. Oh, it was this"? Because one injury and Banks is on the field, right? Regardless if you put Corey Black, Art Green. If I'm the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm going into my room offensively. I'm gonna go. If you two can't beat these bums that are covering you, then what do we need?
Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But like I said, right now I got to go with the Eagles there. Let's go on.
You should be
Cowboys Broncos. Cowboys heading up to Denver. Now they get their run in Mile High Stadium. See if they can keep that offense high octane, man, and see if their defense can slow down Bo Nix and that Broncos offense coming off of some high in victories, man. So, what you think on this one, Adam?
It's gonna be a tough one. I don't think every game is the same, but you saw there were some holes in that defense. But there's a better offensive line they're playing. I think the Cowboys are going to be able to score some points, but I do believe the Broncos will have enough offense to get them over the hump. And I think the Broncos, again, are looking at this game as a game they need to win because they play the Raiders after this. I think, and every game for them is a step closer because if you look at it, the Kansas City Chiefs they're smelling. They're knowing like, oh, okay, we can catch up in this division, So Denver has a lot of pressure, and this will be a fun experience to see if the Cowboys can do what they did against the Commanders. I'm going to put my hat off to the Cowboys offense. It's their defense that I'm wondering about because Bo Nix, he's a Jekyll and Hyde quarterback, and if they can get him to turn the ball over, which is what the Giants didn't do. It'll be a game that Bo Nix struggles against, right? Because if the Cowboys somehow can make it a track meet, it favors the Cowboys because I don't believe the Denver offense is as powerful to do. Even though they scored 33 points last week, I mean they're able to put up points, but I just think they're not going to. You can't do that every week, and every week can't be a track meet. And the Cowboys, their offense is cooking, and if they can score in the mid-20s and their defense can make some plays, they can win, but I'm still going to go with the Broncos. So,
yeah, I'm gonna go with the Broncos here. I think that's defense. The New York Giants really did a number on this defense a week ago, and I know that the Giants offense is not what the Cowboys offense is by no means. But I think the offensive line for the New York Giants has been playing, pretty well, and I think that's going to be a difference in this game. Is the Giants had demonstrated an ability to control the Denver Broncos up front, where I'm not sure if the Cowboys are going to have that same kind of success. Nick Benito's, I can't imagine him just getting completely shut out again like he did, like he shut down like he did against the Giants and Andrew Thomas did. I just don't see it. I think he impacts the game. I think he impacts the game in a big way, and he keeps the heat on Dak Prescott, and it's going to have enough of an effect to keep their points down just enough for the Broncos to be able to get the job done, man. I think I also expect J.K. Dobbins to be able to have a success running the football against this Cowboy defense. Like I said, the Cowboys look great defensively against a wounded Commanders team on Sunday. I'm not so sure if they're going to be able to have quite that same success against the Broncos, who, like I said it last week, getting ready for the Giants game, not a spectacular offense, not necessarily, but clearly an effective offense. And Bo Nix doesn't really make too many of those kind of mistakes. So you got to really, the key to him is keeping the pressure on him, and that's pretty much the most way you're going to have the most success against him. But he's not really just going to throw the game away with bad turnovers and such. He's just too smart a quarterback for that. And I think the Broncos take care of the Dallas Cowboys here, man. And we got one more game left on Monday night. Two teams absolutely going in the opposite directions, man. The Washington Commanders hosting playing the Kansas City Chiefs out in Arrowhead on Monday night, man. And it looks like Washington is going to be in this one without Jaden Daniels. Haven't heard anything about Terry McLaurin still. Deebo Samuel is still on the injury report, but like he probably will play Monday night. And I just don't I don't know, Adam. You go ahead. I don't see much of a chance here for Washington, but what's your thoughts?
I think you're hitting Kansas City at the wrong time. This Commander team, one because you have injuries, and two because Kansas City's feeling like they can get back in the race. And a game like this, banged up in Arrowhead. You said it was an Arrowhead, right?
Yes, sir.
In Arrowhead, I don't think you have a chance playing there with Marcus Mariota. That offense, I think you're going to see a Mahomes-esque type performance, and I think that's what's going to, happen. And I think you're going to this is where the season comes to an end for the Commanders. I thought our season ended last week. You guys can be optimistic or not, but when you have 5 losses right now and you're staring down the gun barrel and looking up and there's teams that are 2 or 3 games ahead of you with, also soft schedules and things like that, it's a long way up. And I think this is where I think they'll be competitive when Jaden Daniels comes back. But if you lose this game, put him on IR and just let him relax and get healed. And
no, don't put him on IR. He's my fantasy quarterback. I need him back.
Probably going to be. Well, he can come back after 4 games, right? So
I need him back.
It's not like what I'm saying is put him on IR, see if he comes back, see where you are after your 4 weeks, right? And if you're in the thick of the playoff race, you put him back in. You're healthy, okay, kid. If not, don't just heal up, heal your knee up, come back next year, and we'll get at this thing again. Because I just think they rely too much on Jaden Daniels, and this will be good for them. It's going to be bad in terms of you take a step back. However, when you look at it and the season comes to an end, you're going to be able to make some moves where you're going to need a better defense, right? You're going to need to go out and spend money for an edge rusher because you just lost Dorrance Armstrong, right? You're going to need to revamp that defense because offensively you have a solid foundation of nucleus. You're probably going to want to get another running back. You're probably going to want to get a better receiver than what you got right now, even though Luke McCaffrey's okay. And you can have a high draft pick, and maybe if somebody has a quarterback that they're looking for, maybe you can move up and down the draft board and figure some things out. But I think you need to bring in infuse a new set of talents, and that's it. I think that their season is over. I think they know their season is over. And playing Kansas City, if they had played Kansas City at 0-2, 0-3, I would be like, oh, this is a better shot. When they're playing them at 3-3, 4-3, whatever their record is right now, you're playing about what are they?
They're 4-3.
So they're like 1 game out of first. This is again, I keep telling you, the AFC West is a race to the finish. The fact that the Chargers, the Colts, the Chargers, the Broncos, and the Chiefs are all in a similar position, 1 game out of these games together. These games are critical.
Well, I'm throwing the Chargers out the window. I'm sorry. I know it's about the NFC East, but I'm throwing the Chargers out the window. It's this division now, I think, is about the Broncos and the Chiefs. The Chargers are frauds. They're frauds.
Right. But what I'm saying is sometimes they are frauds. But what I'm saying is right now, if you're looking at it, you're jockeying for position. If to be 5-3 for the Chiefs, after what we said about them every week, they're bad there. I didn't say they were bad. They just got to get their sea legs. If they win, they get the 5-3. Well, I'm not saying when they win, they get the 5-3. It's going to be a race to the finish in that division. And I think for the Commanders, you might be finishing in 4th place at this rate. Because and it doesn't mean that the Cowboys and Giants are going to be any better record-wise. I think there's a ton of teams from the North, the West, and the South that are going to be kind of in those 7 playoff positions. And, I think 3 NFC East teams are going to be on the outside looking in. I think one's going to make it. It's going to probably be the division winner. But you're going to have the Cowboys and Giants probably falling roughly within the same win total. And then the Commanders, who are going to be 4th place again because their quarterback is not going to be out there doing magic. And with the way that they're banged up, I just can't see the Chiefs dropping this one.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there. Obviously, I agree. The Commanders are just not playing good football right now. And Kansas City is definitely starting to play their best football. Got Rashee Rice back last week, and that clearly made a difference on that offense. Patrick Mahomes has his go-to guy back in the lineup, and it just makes all the other guys look better once again. It just improves upon all the other guys. When you got your stud back out there, it makes everybody else look a little bit better. And then you got the great quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, man. He knows how to exploit the other team's weaknesses, man. And I think this is going to be a long night in the office for the Commanders, and I see another blowout in their future, man, in this one. So that's all I really got to say about that one. MKSVW. Thanks for coming in. You're new to the channel, man. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like, thumbs up for us, man. I appreciate it. But says y'all think the Giants can upset the Eagles twice. If I was a betting man, I'd say no right now, honestly. But it wouldn't surprise me if they did. Whereas before, there was a time prior to this season starting where I didn't even get the Giants even remotely a chance in this football game. Now, I mean, it wouldn't be shocking if they did. I'm just not willing to I just wouldn't be willing to put money on that.
To me, I don't know. I think, the Eagles will drop a game here and there, but it's safe to say that I think they're going to split. And is that bad? I mean, we beat down the Eagles in our building. If they beat us up in their building, are we going to be mad that we lost the Eagles? No, it's what I expected to happen anyways. But I just think this game for the Eagles is a little different, and they know that they need to stay pace. And regardless of how we look, we're 2-4, 2-5. Excuse me.
2-5.
We're a bad team. Damn it, Mac! I tried to give us a little bit more hope. We're 2-5, right? You are what your record is, right? And they're looking at it as like, we can't lose to this team at 2-5, right? Had they come in at 3-4 after beating Denver, I think there's a little bit more, juice to this game. I think it's going to be a tough day at the office for the Giants if this Eagle team has any success offensively, where I just don't know mentally if they're going to look at themselves in the mirror and say, I want this guy leading the team right now, because that's where we're at right now. We're at a crossroads, I feel, in the Ryan Daboll regime. This could be the start of, hey, we're going to continue to fight all the way through, or this could be the start where the wheels fall off the bus because they don't believe in the message that they're being given. And this game looks ugly on the fact that we're too bagged up in the secondary, and that's what scares me. Putting Deontay Banks out there I might as well just give you 10 yards every play, because that's what he gives up every play. I wouldn't even go to Flott's side. And I think AJ Brown and Devontae Smith are better than Flott and Banks any day of the week and twice on Sunday. But if I'm the Eagles and my game plan is, and I'm watching it, I'm literally going into that receiver room and saying, if you can't beat whoever else is on this fucking depth chart, because Adebo's out and Holland's out, then you don't deserve to be here. And that's how I frame it. If I were Nick Sirianni, you guys, I'm putting the onus on you two, and maybe the running back, that if you can't outmaneuver these guys and the weaknesses of this defense with the offensive performance they put out last week, they don't deserve to win. And to me, that's what scares me, is that what's going to happen with this defense if the Eagles score a touchdown, or they're moving the football and the Giants aren't having the same success they were having last week. Are they going to believe in the play call? Are they going to play hero ball and try to step outside their comfort zone? You know what I mean? They were out of practice today, and it doesn't look good.
They still haven't practiced. They haven't practiced. They still haven't practiced at all yet. So it's nothing official yet. We don't know anything official until Friday. But
I'm just saying,
as of right now, it's not looking promising. Put it that way. It's not.
He has a knee injury. They both have knee injuries. They said that they both weren't on the field. So I'm not expecting them on Sunday. The way that they're talking, they're not expecting those two guys to play on Sunday either. So, and why am I, even if you do, there's going to be a hobbled Adebo out there. It's still, if I'm a coach, I'm looking at it like, that guy's not at full strength, beat him, right? And so that's what I'm worried about this Sunday is, what is the mental psyche of this defense if the Eagles get up and the Eagles start to move the football and the Eagles start to, click a little bit on offense? Are they Giants defense going to crumble? Because as much,
the only reason I'll push back on that a little bit is because even if you go back to the game 2 weeks ago, the Eagles went right down the field on their first drive of the game. Only held Giants end up holding them to a field goal, but you know what I mean? They responded, and then even when the Eagles came back late in the first half of that game and went up and took the lead briefly.
That wasn't off an epic meltdown where, your mental psyche is, do I believe in the coach? When you're yelling about being in 8 personnel or dropping 8 back and you're screaming out the top of your lungs, walking out the locker room, those are the type of things that I'm worried about. Is if you get down in the game, right, and you're down 14-7 or something like that, and you're not playing with the lead and you don't have the same, pass rush capabilities now, where are you going to be mentally? Because if we go out there and the Eagles are moving the ball up and down the field and they're scoring touchdown, and the defense doesn't look good and we're in another track meet, it doesn't bode well down the stretch when we actually face teams that defenses are going to be able to match us offensively. There's only a certain amount of magic in that hat they found, and when they put it upon his head, he began to dance around. Okay, Jackson Dart. There's going to be only a certain amount of magic before it runs out and he's melted all over the sidewalk because the temperature gets a little hot and everybody comes in. What I'm saying is Frosty Snowman reference, by the way. I'm just saying that at some point, we can't just sit here and think that we're going to win by hero ball like we did last week offensively, and then defensively. Mentally, if you don't believe in your coach, how can I believe if this team goes up and the Eagles, that you're going to be able to hold it together in the moments that are going to be the money moments? That's all.
All right, and it's about time to get up out of here, man. But before we do it, one more thing I wanted to say that I forgot when we were talking about the Giants in Denver, and everybody keeps talking on the Jackson Dart play, the interception, the 3rd and 5, or whatever the situation. Look, I don't necessarily have a problem with a pass play being called. You just got to understand. As a coach, you got to let your young quarterback understand and make sure he knows full on well that this is a situation. You only throw that football if it's absolutely wide open, can't miss. You know what I mean? You can't you gotta let them understand that you gotta keep this clock moving, no matter what you do. The clock has to remain. You got to keep this clock moving to keep this clock ticking. And I think you need to make sure he understands that fully, which means, other words, if it ain't wide open, you pull that thing down and you run with that motherfucker.
You only can make the play. So when you hear Jackson Dart's explanation, he said that he couldn't quite get his cleats in the ground because somebody obviously crashed into his legs. My point is, to me, that's not a place you want to put any quarterback in the late stages of the game with a pass rush like that, not to mention a rookie in that regard. You tell him, give the ball to Scatterboo, we'll punt it our way. I trust our defense to make a play, and stop him here. There's no way that I believe as the coach to do that. So you got a little desperate, you put it in the kid's hands, and bad things happen sometimes, even to the best of the quarterbacks. And it was a turning point in the game. So I don't want to exonerate Jackson Dart from the mistake, but I also don't want to just say, well, I like that he was passing. You don't need to pass in that thing. You make them use their timeouts so they have nothing left at this point. You were up in the game. You give them the ball. You punt them. You're up 2 scores at that point. You're up 26-16. You don't need to give them the ball back. Then you throw an interception. They go right back down the field and score a touchdown. And now they're basically behind you because they scored another 2-point conversion. And then they get another touchdown, right? So at that juncture in the game, to me, you want to bleed as much clock. They did exactly what you're taught not to do. Throw it in the middle of the field and throw when you have the ball. Just take Mr. Conservative got too aggressive, and that's why I'm saying you should have told Kafka, yo, man, we don't, do a quarterback draw here. If you're going to run the ball, do a quarterback draw. Let's fake the pass and do a draw, and punt it away and see if they have enough time to score. That's situational football. That's awareness. That's not putting your quarterback in a position for him to make that play and look bad. So while I agree with you, you want to be aggressive. We weren't down in the game. If we were down in the game, I'd be like, yo, throw the football. But we weren't. We were winning, and they had a timeout. And then you gave them the ball, and that side of the field, the one thing you couldn't have happened. So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I agree, because we're not. Like I said, I'm not sitting there putting this on Dart at all, man. Like I said, there was a critical mistake And I'm just letting a lot of people seem to want to gloss over. That's all. A lot of people that I've had discussions with are seeming to want to try to gloss over it, act like it as if he has no accountability. That's all. And
He shouldn't have been in that position to begin with. And here's why I think people are glossing over it, because he's a rookie. It's not like he's a 10-year veteran or something like that. I expect bad plays to come in inopportune times, and that's what happens when you have a rookie. So I guess what they're glossing over is in like, this kid still has the goods. I'm not mad that he threw a pick in the last second.
Yeah, I mean, that's the same with me. I'm not mad.
But, I understand it was a big momentum shift in the game and helped contribute to the loss. But again, I blame the coach for putting him in that position in the first place. Even though you don't need to be that aggressive, you just need to bleed the clock out. They had no timeouts. You go there, they use their timeout, they punt, they have to come 80 yards down the field to score another touchdown, and then you get the ball back and they have no timeouts, and you win the game. But instead, you did this, and that's what happens sometimes, and you got to live with that consequence. And so if that means you get fired, well, then you get fired for making that mistake.
All right. And everybody, that is going to do it this week, man. That's going to do it for real. For real this time. That's going to do it this week for another edition of The Real Deal NFC East Roundup. I am Mac the Giants fan. This is my guy, the super dope co-host, Adam Costas, man. And make sure y'all go to his channel, Adam Costas, hit that like, subscribe button for the stream, and just try to support his channel, man. Help keeping his channel growing, man. Go to my channel, I'm Mac the Giants fan. Do the same thing. Hit the like, subscribe, and just keep ringing that bell so you know when more content's coming your way. And also go to the Hardcore Sports Network and do the same. Support the Hardcore Sports Network. Hit the like, subscribe, ring the bell for the Hardcore Sports Network. Bunch of great content creators, man. Really putting it all on the line, delivering good content across all avenues of sports, man, from football to basketball to baseball to wrestling to hockey, everything, whatever you need, you can find on the Hardcore Sports Network, man. So appreciate y'all once again joining us this afternoon as we got all of this off our chest, man. It's been a rough week for us Giant fans, but we appreciate y'all in the chat. Y'all kept the chat lively. Y'all kept the chat popping, man. We really appreciate the love and support y'all show us with this show each and every Wednesday. Myself and Adam, man, we really appreciate y'all, man. And we'll be back with y'all once again next Wednesday, man, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with another edition of The Real Deal NFC East Roundup. Peace. I'd like to thank you all for listening. If you was feeling this, please take time to subscribe and smack them likes. Feel free to drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to ring that bell so you know when I'm dropping new content. It's your boy, Mac the Giants fan. You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at Mac the Giants fan. That's MACDA Giants fan.